Hey everybody, welcome back to Lapsed Comic Fan. Today we're talking 2019's Moon Knight. Just a reminder, we're running the contest for the Dark Knight Returns box set. You will get this awesome Dark Knight Returns box set. Dark Knight Returns. The box set comes with the mask and the graphic novel. And I'm also throwing in this hardbound edition of Batman's 100 Greatest Moments. It's a really great book, guys. It has some awesome stuff in it. So check it out. All you have to do is comment on the Court of Owls review. I did 2 of them. They're 2 parts. Just tell me what your favorite Batman moment is. So it could be a video game. It could be comic books, movie, TV. It doesn't matter. And once we get enough comments, I'll mention, once we start getting a lot more comments, then I'll put an end to date for the contest. So, try to like and subscribe and share as much as you possibly can. Let's try to get this going. It'll be a lot of fun. Yeah. Speaking of Batman, I've been streaming Batman Arkham Knight, the video game. I do that with my PlayStation. I send out tweets and put it up on the Pop Culture Project Facebook group. Also, I've been wondering about this for a minute here. Since we haven't really been recording much Pop Culture Project stuff, it's been mostly Lapsed Comic Fan. I was thinking about changing the name back to Lapsed Comic Fans, as in more than one, just in case we do want to record more stuff, but still have the Pop Culture Project show as a show. But the channel, I think, should be Lapsed Comic Fans because I mostly talk about comic books and comic book-based stuff. So give me a comment down there on what you think and if I should change it back to that, because I've been thinking about it for a while. I'm wondering if the algorithm, because it used to be named Lapsed Comic Fan. And if you look at my old videos, they used to get a lot more views. And once we changed it to Pop Culture Project, it's not that the videos aren't good. It's just that I don't think the algorithm knows what the hell to do with the name of the channel and then just talking about strictly mostly comics or Marvel and DC based entertainment. But let me know what you guys think. So we're going to get right into this comic book, man. This is written by Jed Mackay, an artist. The art is done by Alessandro Cappuccio. The cover art is amazing. Steve Mcniven and Frank D'Armata. It's incredible. So I don't know if they do them on all of the issues, but there's 7 issues out right now. I went to Comixology and I got them, and I've been loving it. It's a fantastic run so far. It's got a lot of cool undertones of dealing with mental health issues, but also how badass Moon Knight can be and what his beliefs are, how it's tied into other comics, his relationship with Khonshu. It's all in here, and I think that could be adapted well later on. I don't know if this could be adapted for like the TV show, because this is already like playing off of a lot of the experience of him as Moon Knight already. It's not like an origin. It's not anything like that. So who knows what they're going to end up doing, but this is definitely a recommend from me. And if you can get it cheap, cool. Go to Comixology or maybe Marvel Unlimited. I'm not sure of all the different digital streaming, comic streaming platforms out there. I just use Comixology because it's simple. I can just pay and look at a bunch of shit. So let's get into this. This is the first issue, number 1 from 2019. It's called The Mission, and we're going to get right into it. Moon Knight answers the phone. He runs the midnight mission and goes by the name of Mr. Knight. He runs this place called The Mission, and he takes phone calls from different people, and they have like all these different types of weird ass problems, and he has the moniker of he helps people who travel at night. That's what Moon Knight does. So a lot of like weird problems come up, and you'll see from like just from the calls that he gets in this first issue, the type of stuff that he deals with. So we're brought to a title page, and this is what it has to say, introducing the comic. It says, mercenary Marc Spector died and was reborn in the shadow of Khonshu, the Egyptian god of the moon. Spector became Moon Knight, the fist of Khonshu, to fight evil. Through his midnight mission, he is the defender of all those who travel at night. So we open up with this kid talking about people missing from his neighborhood, and Moon Knight investigates and finds a van of vampires, getting their newest turns to find new recruits and turn them themselves for the first time. The new people are very reluctant and just want to go home. It's cool. We get these people and they're in the van with the vampires, and these new vampires are like, hey guys, we just turned you and now it's your time to move up the hierarchy. You'll get your own subordinates and then we'll be this part of the hierarchy, and all you got to do is turn them. And there's people like, we just want to go home, man. I know we're vampires now, but what did you do? Moon Knight flies through the sky and crashes through the windshield of the van and kills 2 of the vampires with a wooden stake. The new vampires try to make an escape, and they're confronted by Moon Knight and plead their cases of being kidnapped by these vampires and forced to turn new recruits. Moon Knight has mercy. He's telling all of this to a psychiatrist, Dr. Sternin, who tries to delve deep into the man Marc Spector, a Jewish ex-Marine, CIA operative, and then private military contract mercenary, who was a bad man who did bad things to people in foreign countries for money. Spector died and claims Khonshu brought him back to life to become the defender of those who travel at night. The therapist is obviously skeptical, but he is a patient at the request of the Avengers. Mark/Moon Knight has died at least 2 more times. Once at the bottom of the East River, and another when the Shadow Keep, his former headquarters, was blown up with him in it. She asks if he can die. Mark answers, he doesn't know. The way that the story is told is he's sitting down with the psychiatrist, and he's talking all about the wacky crap Marc Spector is involved with and what he believes. And from a person on the outside, you're like, so this Egyptian god of the moon, Khonshu, brought you back to life, and now you dress up like this, and you protect those that travel at night. Oh, and you defeated some vampires because a guy called you and said people were missing from his neighborhood that just happens to be in your area of protection, and you found other vampires that turned these people into vampires, but you killed the main 2 vampires, and you let the other vampires go. Even if they were kidnapped, they're still vampires by your claim, knowing that vampires feed on blood, and at some point these people are going to have to feed on blood. Yeah, that's what I did. And you can't die because you've died a couple other times. I have no idea if I can die. So right off the bat, you're just like, holy crap, that's a lot to take. But it's really cool, man. The way that it's written, it's like he's sitting there telling her just matter-of-factly. Like, it's probably the most honest he's probably been with somebody about all of this. And he knows it sounds ridiculous. But when we know, the reader, that it is real and this stuff is happening, it makes it so much more fun, because you know that this person, this therapist, is just like, oh, this dude, like, I don't even want to talk to this dude. But since the Avengers said so, and we'll get more into the Avengers, because there's a relationship he has there with the Avengers, and it deals with Khonshu. And there was a Avengers run by Jason Aaron that started in 2018. When it got to about issue 33, it started a specific run called The Age of Khonshu. And I think it was like 5 or 6 issues, and it was really, really cool. And that ties into this right here. So, yeah, we're going to talk about that a little bit more. But, yeah, so this therapist has to think this guy that I'm talking to is a wackadoo. It's a lot of him talking to Dr. Sternin. It kind of goes like, here's what he's doing, and then it cuts back to Dr. Sternin, then cuts back to what he's doing, then Sternin, then, yeah. We go to his office, and he has a receptionist that was one of the vampires that he saved. This black lady, and it's cool because she has a Spider-Man cup, and she's just like kind of a jerk to him, just kind of like, yeah, okay, dude, whatever. And this old woman comes in, and she says, hey, there's these people in my building, and they're like creatures, and they scratch at the doors, they whisper things, and people are frightened. I don't know what to do. Can you help me? And of course, he goes to help. So he ends up going to the building where the old woman had talked to him about, and he runs into these creatures, and it's crazy because I can't tell what they are, and this might have been from when I wasn't reading, but he says that they're Spider-Man villains, and he kills one of them. He throws it right out the window. And He's like, I know who you are, vermin. One of Spider-Man's foes. Some mad science guinea pig used to be a man. Hates being alone. And he says, now you can clone yourself. A good trick means you're never alone. He says, unless I kill you, and I can and I will. He's like, I'm not Spider-Man. So right there off the bat, we realize that this is like almost Wolverine level of things. Like, you have certain superheroes that they'll mess you up, but they won't kill you. Because I think they feel if they kill someone, that's not superhero-like. Where we have X-Force, where they kind of will kill you because they're like secret underground missions, that Black Ops type thing. He's just telling them, I will kill the shit out of you. I don't care. And I think that's really cool. It at least lends a level of there being stakes to what's going on with the villain. At least there's that, because it kind of sometimes hard when a supervillain is doing all these terrible things, right? And we know that they're not going to get killed. We know that they're going to get put in some mental institution. That's one of the only drawbacks of Batman, in my opinion. As much as I love Batman, it's like, how many times do you got to put this person in Arkham Asylum before you realize, dude, that this shit ain't working? Like, they're done. It's never going to work. Obviously, a person who has cloned himself into some rat person, you know, and can clone it so he's never alone, isn't coming back from this. They're fully into it. And to know that he'll go out and kill them and end them puts the fear in these villains, knowing, okay, this isn't Spider-Man. He's not just going to beat me up. I'll take an ass whooping. But this, he's going to kill me. So I better tread lightly or make sure I know what I'm doing so he doesn't kill the shit out of me. And he tells them he understands how losing his people hurts. He said, but these are my people you're trying to eat. You tried to take one of mine, so I took one of yours. You can leave it at that, scurry off and keep clear of my territory, or you can test me further. And man, let me tell you how awesome the art is in this. And Cappuccio does a fantastic job. There's times where I like bulky art, but for something like Moon Knight, it needs to be slick. It needs to be thin-lined. It's very, very good. All the personas, which we will get into at a later time, not particularly this issue, but when he is Moon Knight, he looks fantastic, guys. Like, it looks incredible. When he comes through the sky and he has his cape and cowl out, man, it's in the crescent moon shapes. He's got the branding all over him. I mean, it's sick. I think it's badass. So we get to the conversation with Dr. Sternin that I wanted to hear about, because I hadn't read a lot of Moon Knight. A lot of the stuff that I read had him in other people's comics, and I think I can't remember who wrote it, but I'll have to look it up. If I remember, I'll talk about it at a later time. But I read one of his runs, and it was only like 8 issues. It wasn't like the full thing. It was just like a run of one particular story. And I liked it, but I didn't know enough about Khonshu and all the stuff that he was doing, and I just didn't understand it. So it didn't lend me to be like, this is really good. As much as I enjoyed it, I just didn't know enough about him. And we do get a little bit of his backstory with Khonshu, so because Moon Knight would be a very hard comic if you don't know anything about him to just go and read, because all the things that you're learning on the fly, it feels like, oh, you're just telling me this so the stuff that I see makes sense, as opposed to you already knowing it and then playing off of the history that you have with the character. He seems like a character that if you know and you've read him for a while, it pays off knowing that stuff. But it can be accessible to new readers. I hope that doesn't put you off. It's just one of those things. It's like the Spider-Man movie, No Way Home. If you saw all those other movies with Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield, and then you see this one, you're like, wow, this pays off completely. But if you hadn't seen those movies and you just see this as a standalone, the impact isn't as much. We hear why Moon Knight is so dedicated to Khonshu, who he admits is a god not worthy of his devotion or praise, since he has tried to take over the world and is imprisoned by the Aesir on Asgard somewhere. But unworthy or not, he is his fist and high priest, and he has taken on his duty as his own. It is his debt for being brought back to life. So when he talked about him being imprisoned on Asgard, that's what I talked about earlier in the Avengers comics by Jason Aaron. He talks to Khonshu at some point, and then he just goes and Moon Knight goes and starts taking out all these Avengers. because Khonshu had this plan of taking over the world. I hadn't finished that run, but I read the first 2 issues, and man, it was cool so far. I totally advise reading that. You can find those in trades. You can find that volume just if you search Age of Khonshu online. You can find the trade paperback. Should be very cheap. It's not super expensive. If you want to know more about this, I would definitely read the 2018 Avengers run, Jason Aaron. You could search this, type in on Google, Jason Aaron, Age of Khonshu, Avengers, and you'll find the issues that you need to get. On one of his missions, he meets a Dr. Bader, who has taken over a free clinic and is part of the Khonshu home office, and he's disappointed at Moon Knight for letting vampires exist in his territory. He also warns Moon Knight that there is only one who outranks him in the cult of Khonshu, and Moon Knight is not him. Moon Knight gets called, and they said it was a supervillain, and it was 8-Ball, and committing this crime. And when he gets there, he sees this guy, just a plain clothes-dressed guy beating the shit out of 8-Ball, and he's just like, hey, keep going, and he's just watching, and we find out that this is a guy named Dr. Bader, and he knows about Moon Knight and starts talking about Khonshu and all this stuff. And Moon Knight's like, yo, I didn't see you at the church social, And he's like, no. He's like, let's just say I'm from the home office. And he starts kind of putting Moon Knight down, saying that he's kind of failed with letting the vampires there. And Moon Knight looks to him. He's like, listen, man, I don't know where you're from, but whatever you are, I still outrank you. And this was cool because he's like, look, the guy, Dr. Bader, turns around and he says, there's only one person who outranks me, and you're not him. So you're like, ooh, is this guy a friend or a foe? We don't really know yet, but he seems very sure of himself, which kind of makes Moon Knight hesitant. It makes him think like, ooh, I don't know who this is, but he knows about Khonshu, and he knows about the fist of Khonshu. He knows about me being the fist. Ooh, who is he? And what is he doing here now? Dr. Sternin is worried about Mark's brain as contact with a god, however that is defined, has chemically changed him, and she worries about the changes that could happen in the future. While Moon Knight talks to Reese, his partner/assistant, we get a monologue from someone in the shadows talking about how Moon Knight/Marc Spector, Jake Lockley, Stephen Grant, and Mr. Knight has fallen, and he's going to break his faith to see what he really believes in. There was someone in the shadows. Moon Knight gets done with the Bader thing, and he's sitting there on a chair, and we see Bader walk by. So I thought at first it was Bader saying these things. And you see someone in the shadows, and they're going through all of Spector's different personalities. And we said there's Moon Knight, Marc Spector, Jake Lockley, Stephen Grant, and Mr. Knight. So the ones we see in this is Mr. Knight and Moon Knight. We know that there's a Marc Spector because he acknowledges Marc Spector. So I don't know if it's like he knows of all these other personalities or they just come up out of nowhere. Where the show, he's Stephen Grant, and when he finds out that there's a Marc Spector, he's just like, what in the hell's going on? We haven't gotten that deep yet, so we don't know fully what's going on with the other personalities. But this guy is there, and he's talking about how he's going to break Moon Knight, how he doesn't really believe in anything. He's like, I'm going to show him what he really believes in, and he looks like he has all this information on him. He's in the shadows, so we don't know. And at first when I was reading it, I thought it was Bader, until Dr. Bader walks into a room and starts praying to Khonshu and says Moon Knight needs correction. He strayed from Khonshu's purpose, but his other fist remains faithful, the Hunter's Moon. So yeah, dude, this was amazing. Dr. Bader goes in and he has his own statue. And he's praying to him, and exactly what I had just said happens. And when he turns around, he pulls down this mask, and it's the Hunter's Moon. And I was like, oh, this is cool, because there's another fist. There's another hand of Khonshu. And they could either team up, or they could end up fighting each other, which is probably more likely. But if he's not the guy who was in the shadow, then who is? And will they end up teaming up to take this guy out? But it seems like Bader sticks more to like strict rules, where Moon Knight is just, he has empathy and sympathy sometimes towards people, because Vader's like, look, you allowed vampires to get into your territory. And we find out a little bit later that the reason why he didn't kill those other people is because, yes, they were turned into vampires, but they were citizens in his territory that were kidnapped. They didn't ask to be turned into it. And if I just go around killing people all the time for no reason whatsoever, how does he differentiate when he needs to kill somebody? He's just going to end up killing tons of people. It's just not right. And I agree with him on that. I don't agree because they're vampires. And Vader ends up becoming a little bit of a thorn in his side because Moon Knight, Mr. Knight, ends up becoming friends with some of these people. And he has like his own little band of helpers. And it starts to get really cool. And we also have to find out who the hell was that person in the shadows. So even though there wasn't a lot of action in this, there was some with the vampires and there was some with the 8-Ball and the vermin. I give this a 3.5 out of 5, which is a very high mark in my opinion for a first issue, because there's a lot of things that you have to do. One, you have to please new readers, but two, you also have to please the readers that have been reading Moon Knight for a long time with a gripping enough story to keep them involved to where they're like not giving up on the first issue because it's just a bunch of backstory and getting new people. Because when you start with number 1, it's always hard to get people to stay focused on something if they've known the character for so long. And you have to do a medium, because there's also the people that don't know the character, that if you're just telling a story that nobody knows anything about, then that's really hard to grip new people also. The art in this by Cappuccio is fantastic. The writing is fast. I think it's done well. I'm very excited to read more of this, and I'll probably talk about this more on a live stream, but I wanted to get this video out because I haven't been feeling good this whole past week. It kind of threw a wrench in my plans for a long time, and I just wanted to get something out, and I thought Moon Knight would be appropriate since the trailer dropped this past week. And I look, guys, I think this is really cool. All the stuff that I've read with Moon Knight, even the Age of Khonshu issues, have been great. I really like the character. There's a lot of intrigue and mystery around it. And with mental health being a huge subject, at least in the United States and across the world, but prevalent in the United States, it's very cool. It's a cool allegory to read and to see how superheroes deal with that. So, yeah. Let's get into a couple of our Batman's 100 greatest moments. We left off on number 30. So we're going to go, I'll say this. Let's do 4 of them. We'll do 4, okay? So number 31, oh, this is awesome, is in Batman's 100 greatest moments. Number 31 is Jason Todd steals Batmobile tires. It says, a major post-crisis alteration introduced readers to street urchin Jason Todd, who didn't think twice about boosting the Batmobile's tires in an effort to make some money. This was from Batman number 408, June 1987. Artist Ed Hannigan and Dick Giordano. And writer Max Allen. I'm sure we've all seen this in some sort of form, animated or in another comic, but this was the original one. And what's crazy is, if you take a look at the Batmobile back then, it was just like a car, almost like Kit from Knight Rider. It's pretty cool. And Batman just laughs. He just laughs his ass off. He's just like, I can't believe you did it. He's like, well, come finish the job at least. And what's great, Batman's like, look, man, what else is the tire iron for? And Jason just cracks him in the stomach. He's like, you little son of a gun. And he's like, runs away. He's like, try to catch me, you big boob. I love the way that shit was written back then. It was great. All right, number 32 is Jason Todd becomes Robin. Seeing something in the street smart kid, Batman decided to recruit the teen and train him to become the second Robin, a decision he would come to regret. writer Max Allen Collins, artist Dave Cockrum, and Mike DiCarlo from Batman 410, August 1987. So I guess he trained him just kind of like he did Dick Grayson, and he ends up giving him the Robin costume. And that was something that he did regret. Amanda and me, we talked about Death in the Family. We talked about that whole comic, and it was totally insane. I mean, that whole comic is great in concept, but man, is it wacky. I mean, the Joker becomes like an Arab diplomat, and like when you think of Death in the Family, you think, oh, how does Robin die and what happens? And you know, his mom like betrays him, and because she's a piece of shit, and he still tries to save her. And the Joker's like, screw that. You're a piece of shit, Mom. You sold out your son, so he leaves them both to die. And you don't think, though, Joker Arab diplomat. All right, number 33. Bruce and Dick discuss Jason. And it says, no one likes to be replaced, and the subject of Jason finally comes up at Donna Troy's wedding, where Bruce Wayne and Dick Grayson have a moment to talk. So I'm assuming this comes as Dick probably goes out on his own and has to become Nightwing, but I have not read any of that. And if I did, it's been forever. It's probably been since 1987, so I don't remember everything from it. And it is from Tales of the Teen Titans, number 50, from February 1985. Writers Marv Wolfman and George Perez, artist. George Perez, we lost just a really great guy, man. And I know those two had done a lot of stuff together, so that sucks, man. All right, number 34, Tim Drake joins the team. Tim Drake is convinced that Batman needs a Robin and proves he is more than ready for the task, becoming the third to fill the pivotal role. Batman 442, December 1989, artist George Perez. So those are some big moments, man. A lot of Robin moments. That's pretty cool. And man, let's talk about this. Let's talk about Nightwing's first costume, or one of them. What in the hell is that? That is definitely a ridiculous costume. So, yeah. Those are some cool moments from Batman. These are just, some of the stuff that you will be able to read and have on your own if you enter the contest. Go to the Court of Owls videos and leave a comment there on what your favorite Batman moment is, whether it's a video game, a movie, a comic that you read, anything. And we'll do it randomly on a live show. And whenever I get enough comments, I will set an end date and we'll go from there. And I hope we get enough people to get in the contest, because the last person who entered didn't get back to me, so I couldn't even send the stuff out. I waited 2 to 3. Even now, they still haven't gotten back to me. So, we've lost some subscribers. I've been trying really hard to get more people to watch, but all I really care about is real fans. Like, if real subscribers, like, don't just subscribe just to do it. I would like people to interact with me, and I have some really good subscribers, guys. There's some of you out there that are watching live streams, that are watching me play the video games, and I appreciate it. I love talking with you guys, and I really, really do appreciate you. And I'll do this show no matter what, because I love doing it. But just the fact that I'm able to talk to some of you guys about Batman or about Moon Knight just makes me super happy, and I really appreciate you. So I hope everybody has a good weekend, and stay safe.